Hi, welcome to the Lone Star Dowsers. Let's see, October, can you believe it? 2020 meeting. And we have a great program for you tonight. We have Asal Shokati. And she's an amazing woman. I've been having a chance to chat with her. If you guys saw the invitation that went out, she has a fabulous picture, and she also, has a very extensive bio. So I'm going to just tell you part of that. She's an Ayurvedic practitioner. She's a restorative yoga guide. She's got a Sufi lineage, and she has a family of physicians in her heritage. So she has a natural, ancestral proclivity for healing. And her own health journey, I think, led her into this healing journey and into the healing arts. So we are in for a big treat tonight with Asal. So Asal, welcome.
Thank you so much. That's so very, very kind of you, Mary. And hello to everyone. Thank you for being here tonight. We couldn't meet in person, but thank goodness most of us are becoming accustomed to the Zoom meetings and online events. Thank you again. And I think from the time we first communicated till now, I was lucky enough to finally finish the full yoga teacher training. So I got that, but that was the first thing I wanted to do all these years, and the last thing I've done so far. So I've been very excited to be able to merge and integrate these modalities together.
Well, yeah, it's a holistic approach, right? I mean, we've got to deal with the whole body, the whole picture. And I think tonight you are going to talk about a lot of great things. The 4 pillars of health through Ayurveda, and different ways to boost our immune system. And I think you're including some dowsing and ways to help our members empower themselves and to stay healthy.
Yes, hopefully everybody would enjoy. I don't want to say learning, because these are things that we already know, remembering, I would say, these concepts.
Well, great. If you'd like to get started, and I'll just say to our members, if you have any questions, you're welcome to put them in the chat, and there'll be plenty of time for question and answer. Or if we're going along and there's some kind of a question, put it in the chat, and I'll let Asal know.
Thank you very much. So if that is all right, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. I have a little presentation here that would send to Mary, and she will share with everyone after.
And I just want to make sure if someone can put in the chat that you can hear us very clearly. We're both doing little headsets, and I want to make sure that you can hear us both. Okay, they hear us clearly. We have the green light. Okay.
Beautiful. All right, so let me go ahead and share here. And can everybody see the screen? It says Season of Change and Immunity. 1 thumbs up.
Yes.
Okay, beautiful. Yes. So I'm going to skip over this and give you a very brief overview of what I'm going to cover and what we're going to be discussing tonight. So just a little bit about what Ayurveda is and important concepts related to this ancient knowledge and time-tested knowledge. I'm going to very briefly talk about elements, energies, and seasons from the Ayurvedic perspective, because it's a tiny bit different from, I would say, different traditions, Chinese medicine, and also European traditions. Then I'm going to delve into the 4 pillars of health, and they're simpler than you can imagine, and go over some routines and tips, just basically guidelines. There are no rules and regulations in Ayurveda, and it's much simpler than one can imagine. And as a bonus, because this is the season of change and what we're going through, decided to include this, which I never talk about, colds and flus. And we are with a crowd here that uses dowsing. And I will also cover using a kinesiology technique to get the best response from the body on recognizing which type of cold and flu one may be dealing with, and some home remedies and just basic methods to nip it in the bud. So we'll see how that pans out, and then at the end we will have maybe we get to try 1 or 2 things together.
That would be great.
Beautiful. So Ayurveda, luckily, as of lately, has become more and more popular. But just to give you an idea, this is the primary healthcare method for over 850 million people across the world. That says a lot. It's at least 5,000 years old, and so it's time tested, and it's not a fad. But what it is it's not just what has become popular, that Ayurveda is a way of eating to be healthy according to each person's body type. It's more than that. It is basically using the universal pharmacy, nature as your pharmacy, colors, you name it, times of the day, aromas, all senses to bring healing and balance into one system. And it's a very much consciousness-based practice. So it's not only about the body, it covers 5 layers of our existence, which I put it here as 4, but we get into that very briefly during this presentation as well. And as you may know, it's unique to each individual. And I would say at any given moment, things can change in one's physiology or state of mind. So one remedy doesn't always last for one body type. We have to have access to the knowledge and use our own best guide, which is our intuition and our own body, to decide what's good for us or what's not at any given moment. And it is not a system really designed to compete with allopathic medicine, modern medicine. Modern medicine has its place. It works wonders in matters of trauma sometimes and this and that, but this is one of the best ways to prevent and maintain health. So health in Ayurveda is not seen as lack of disease, but being in this state of equilibrium, that we don't allow disease to eventually make its way to our system.
I love that. Would you repeat that again?
Oh, so in a nutshell, Ayurveda is not about coming up with remedies once the disease has hit, but it is a way of incorporating change, so not only we prevent disease from coming in, but to maintain this balance and state of equilibrium so disease doesn't make its way into our system and being.
Love that. Thank you.
My pleasure. You're welcome. So this is a little bit more about Ayurveda, and since I'm going to be sharing this with you, I will not talk much about it, but it is what I mentioned, with the exception of one of the best tools that an Ayurvedic practitioner, if they have the ability to teach you, is to teach one how to meditate, And there are two types of meditation: when you focus on something or when you listen to something. So this, what I'm referring to, is more of a mantra-based meditation where you actually sit with your thoughts and emotions and body sensations until you develop a sense and a trust in the messages that you receive. Now, speaking in front of this group, dowsers, they have that tool at hand. Most are already very intuitive, even if they don't say so. So it's just a brilliant tool to have and a way to be and practice living day-to-day life, which is very useful to Ayurveda. So before we move forward, I just wanted us to take a moment and connect to our own being and presence here and get grounded a little bit. So if you feel like it, let's go ahead and close our eyes. And whether you're comfortable to go to your belly or your heart, just find a comfortable space in either of these two locations and connect with that without any pressure. And take a deep breath and let it go. And see if you can breathe into that space. If you feel comfortable to be in your heart, it may not feel easy to go from the front. You can go to it from the back or any sides. The same with the belly. Just find an easy way to go into that comfortable spot. And once you're there, take a breath in and count to 4 and see if you can slow your breath. And then pause for a moment and breathe out 4 counts. Breathe in 4 counts. Pause. And breathe out again. And continue at your own pace for 2 to 3 more breaths. And when you're ready, then very, very slowly come back into your body and very gently open up your eyes.
Ooh, thank you. I feel much more centered. I imagine we all do.
Glad to hear that, because it's important. We are going to be sharing and receiving plenty of information, and being able to center ourselves and anchor ourselves in another center, a stronger center, I would say the gut and the heart, or then even the mind, the easier it will be to integrate. So without further ado, these are the cool Ayurvedic concepts I'm going to kind of go through more rapidly than usual, but the information will be there. So the concept of prana, ojas, and ama are very important in keeping the state of equilibrium in our body and our health. And the 5 elements that I told you, the doshas, or the qualities of constitutions that we deal with, that are very famous in Ayurveda, especially these days, and the koshas, the consciousness model, and the 5 layers of our existence. I would assume everybody's familiar with prana and chi, the energy contained in life and everywhere. It's important because keep that in mind when we talk about the 4 pillars of health. That's an important aspect of our digestion. So keep that in mind. Ojas.
I'm going to jump in just a second.
Sure.
So no one panics. Asal has kindly offered to share her PowerPoint with us. So when we have the recording, we'll send the PowerPoint out to everybody. So I know people want to take notes, but if they're going, wait, I didn't get that, know that you'll have the copy of it. So, okay.
Sure. Absolutely. So ojas is another interesting concept, and I had only learned about it through Ayurveda. And please, if anybody has heard of it differently through a different tradition, I would love to know if you can share in the chat box. But it, in a nutshell, is that beautiful, vibrating white glow that comes out of people who are very spiritual and grounded and elevated. But I would say a person who doesn't actively pursue spirituality can have this beautiful ojas because it's a physical, positive byproduct of our good digestion that permeates the body. So it is very, very important to have good ojas and high ojas in order to build our immunity. And that's where the 4 pillars of health, especially the 2 concepts of digestion and sleep, come into play. On the opposite end, there is another thing called ama, and it's the byproduct of poor digestion of food and experiences, emotions and thoughts included. So one thing to know is we can have really good ojas, at the same time have ama and toxic buildup in our system. These are physiological concepts understood by Ayurveda. So when we take these two and we combine them, let's say we have too little ojas and too much ama or toxins, that's when that state of equilibrium gets messed up. And what happens is it creates a situation called fertile ground where disease is possible. So basically, the vibration, as I said, we're consciousness. Even our body is a denser form of consciousness. Our vibration drops. We don't have anything to build it back up since we have too little ojas and we have too much ama blocking the flow of energy, intelligence in our system. So again, it may be a very simplistic way of looking at it, but it does work that once our vibration is low, we're more prone to diseases. And I've had this concept with people with different mentalities, and I've witnessed that different in a household, different people, different mentalities. One person gets sick. Other people, depending on where they stand, they contract it or they don't. They don't show symptoms. Sometimes when their ama is low and ojas is high, they don't show symptoms. Vice versa, too much ama, too little ojas, the next person gets it. And this topic became really popular in the Ayurveda circles when the pandemic hit. That how can we build up our immunity? Well, it says it easily, and there are practical ways to increase ojas and lower ama. That is in this presentation. Just very briefly, the 5 elements in Ayurveda are earth, water, fire, air, And Akash, or ether, or space, it's basically the container that holds the actual elements. So in some schools of thoughts, Akash is not even an element, but for the sake of this topic, we'll just say the 5 elements in Ayurveda. And it's the combination of the elements that creates the famous doshas. So the Vata dosha, or constitution, is of air and space. And Pitta is fire and moisture, and Kapha is earth and water. And what's very interesting and fascinating is even then they knew that we don't have like a massive ocean in our system, and then we don't have soil in our bodies, but it's just the energy behind these elements that kind of define these constitution types. Vata is very important because Vata is related to the fall season of change. And the qualities, I'm going to go over it in a moment, you would see why people become more prone to colds and flus at this season than any other season. Vata is cold, rough, dry, airy, irregular, and it's subtle, and it governs movement, transportation, and communication. So basically our nervous system. When things are irregular, it confuses the body. And especially here, right now, we're still, Mary and I were discussing, we're still in summertime, but in Houston. But at some point, we're going to begin feeling that we have entered the season of fall. So with that comes irregularity. It's going to be colder and drier and rougher. And it's just not very, very pleasant and not very earthy in a way. And we can send our bodies through some sort of a shock. So again, in Ayurvedic circles, when the fall hits, everybody rushes to do a special kind of purification to prepare their body for the season and all the changes that are coming, so they don't get like hit by diseases out of nowhere, which it's not out of nowhere. It gradually, like, our body becomes prone to it. Some interesting qualities of Vata. As I said, we're dealing with a universal pharmacy. So even times of the day have qualities to them different than other times. For instance, from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. or 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. is Vata time. Normally, like 2 to 6 a.m., a lot of people have a tendency to have early morning awakenings. The energy of the day kind of gets lighter. And if there are other tendencies, then the person wakes up. Or from 2 to 6 p.m., granted, we haven't had a very heavy lunch at the office, this can be a good time to get work done because the energy of air and Vata kind of moves things around. It's the energy of communication. We talked about the season and also some very good news. So according to Ayurveda, and that has some roots and relations to Vedic astrology, a human being at this era is here to live about 120 years to experience the effects of all planets. That's the Vedic astrology way of looking at it, but that's one of the offshoots of Vedic sciences. So it's relevant to Ayurveda. So that's really good. Like, granted, we don't have some sort of a disaster hitting us. With living according to our nature, we can live up to 120. And more we see people, especially in the blue zones, I think there are 5 areas in the world that people easily live to be 100 and 110.
So I have a question for you. Back on your, can you go back to the other slide? Yeah. So when you say time of the day, so it's twice, right? From 2 to 6 a.m. and 2 to 6 p.m.
Correct.
And that's kind of what a peak time when someone's in a vata phase, no matter what your dosha is, or if that's your dosha, then you're kind of energized at that time.
It is the energy of that time of the day, no matter what. And I think it's like under Pitta, I wrote give or take, because say we are in the summertime and near the equator, then that time span kind of expands. Or we're in the, by the poles in the wintertime, maybe the vata time expands, but it's more or less that timeline and the energy of that time of the day. So it's not necessarily an indicator of anything for one's dosha. But I'm saying is like, let's say I do things that are vata provoking. I stimulate myself too much. I think too much. I read something maybe that causes me to have a lighter sleep, for instance. Comes that time of the day or night, chances of me waking up is higher because of the actions I've taken, because the energy becomes lighter.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. And then lastly, and I'll be done speaking about Ayurvedic concepts and get into the actual topic of our presentation tonight, is the consciousness model. So according to Vedic sciences, a human existence is comprised of 5 layers: the physical layer, the energetic layer, the emotional and lower mental, so our thoughts and emotions. But then there's like another mental layer, which is the higher mental. It's the intuitive layer. It is the archetypal layer. It's where, according to Ayurveda, the Vedic astrology, the planets can affect a person's life. And then beyond that is the spiritual or the bliss body. And all of those sheets or layers, they are just in that ideology separating us from the inner light of existence, from that consciousness, from our soul, from Atman. And separation from that and having debris, having miscommunication on or in between any of these layers causes a lot of disease. So physical manifestation of something may not be rooted in actually something physical. It could come from the emotional layer or karmic layer, or it could simply be energetic or just physical. It's seldom that I would say somebody gets inflicted from the spiritual layer, but just an idea is you keep working on something. You keep working on a lower back pain, for instance. You get massages, you get Reiki, you take medication, you do so much yoga, you name it, acupuncture, and you feel fine for a little bit, and then it goes back to it. Because maybe the layer that the infliction happens is on the emotional layer or the higher mental layer. So a practitioner's job is to find which layer it comes from and treat the root cause, not just like provide like a band-aid solution.
Exactly.
So behavior changes matter the most. Because when we take our own life under our own management, doing things that are right for us, what we're doing is we're not just like changing one thing. We're actually, this has that domino effect of, say, one little mentality change about the type of food that we eat, food with prana. It can affect us on so many other layers. So we'll get to that. So now the 4 pillars of health.
We have a question. What would be an example of an affliction caused by the spiritual layer?
That's the thing. It seldom comes from that layer. It's usually from the lower layers. So more like a causal archetypal.
Got it. Thank you.
So according to Ayurveda, there are 4 pillars to our health and well-being. And perfect health is the result of having perfect digestion, perfect elimination, which is separated from digestion, perfect purification, and perfect sleep. And when I keep saying perfect, as I said, there are no rules and regulations, but guidelines, and every person is different. But for instance, it's important to know if by habit you've become used to going to bed at midnight or 1 or 2, more than likely, like most other people, you're going against your own body nature. There are some night owls. There are some people that it's not a matter of just a ego-based choice, but more of their destiny to be night owls, doctors, nurses, different people. But they're just a smaller portion of the population. So using the term perfect, it's not in a perfectionist way, but it's in the optimal way for each body. So if I ask you, how many hours of sleep do you think is right? I would say just go ahead and put it in chats. See what everybody says, if that's all right. Anything?
I'm doused for myself. I got 8 hours. Let's see, Jean, 8 hours. Yeah, everybody doused. Margaret says 7 hours. So 7 or 8. Is it? I mean, I would imagine it would be different for each person, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and depends on where we currently are in life. There are a lot of people that have sleep deprivation. So maybe 9 to 10 hours would be right for them.
Mm-hmm.
So throw that alarm clock out the window if you can. I know it's very difficult, but
I will say these last 9 months, I think probably everyone is, well, not everyone, a lot of people have had an opportunity to catch up on their sleep deprivation. That would be one bonus that we've experienced.
Yeah, so again, like it is pretty normal to sleep between 7 to 9 hours. If we go below that, that's questionable. Again, there are very few people that they're going to stay in their state of equilibrium night after night under sleeping.
But interesting to look at the weight gain, to treat the weight gain and obesity, that it often has to do with your sleep. Wow.
It is. And some people oversleep, and that, it's like the effect of a certain kind of depression. But more than likely, a lot of people do need to sleep more in order to lose weight, or go back to their normal weight. For instance, with me, I was underweight and I've been able to manage my weight, like bring it up and stay that way. So yeah, as you said, you know, everything is interrelated. We want to have great digestion. Maybe our sleep needs to get better. We want to have better sleep. Maybe our elimination needs to get better. So we have to, like, through behavioral changes, work on this. I'm not going to get too much through the details and bore everybody, but it's going to be there for your information to read. So just remember that digestion starts in the mouth, in the digestive tract basically starts in the mouth. And from right there, you're going to start breaking down food until it's all the way out. It can be like a 24 to 36 hour process, but it is very, very important. And with that said, let's just remember that this concept of Agni, or the fire of digestion, is one of the most important aspects of Ayurvedic health and nutrition and digestion. So we want to make sure that whatever we do, we keep this fire at the right intensity at the right time. And that goes to affect our sleep as well. So just keep that in the back of your mind as I talk about the rest. And another thing is absorption is part of our digestion, but also please do remember that absorption does happen through the skin too. So what we put on our skin is as important as what we put in our body. And that's why in Ayurveda they work a lot with oils, because they do penetrate the cell membrane of the body. They have the ability or capability to take nutrients and herbs and spices and everything to the core of the cell for healing. So again, just keep that in the back of your mind. So one of the best ways to improve your immunity is to increase your ojas and decrease the ama, or the toxins. And these guidelines that I've stated here are pretty much, mistake proof according to Ayurvedic tradition, and is to make lunch the main meal of your day. That is when your Agni, or your digestive fire, is at its peak, not your breakfast time. So that doesn't mean you need to skip breakfast. But if you are a kind that you do not crave it, it's all right, according to Ayurveda, not to eat your breakfast. And the people that do intermittent fasting, even though Ayurveda doesn't really believe in fasting, hardcore fasting, it's something that practitioners and doctors and Vaidras, they don't turn their head, or they don't get upset about it, because it really does work for most people. So as long as the main meal is consumed around lunchtime. So from 11 to 2 roughly. Okay. And most importantly, at a regular time. So regularity is the antidote to the irregularity of vata that we spoke. In the fall, vata goes up. We want to make sure our routine is more grounded and stable.
Oh, that's good to know. Thank you. We have a question from Leslie. Can you give us an example of the oils for the skin? Like,
yes. So one of the better oils to use for the skin is sesame oil. It can be heating for some people. So you can mix sesame oil and sunflower oil. And you warm it up and you apply, and you can take a shower. Otherwise, it would just kind of stain and smell after a while. But sesame and sunflower mixed together, that would be a good thing for skin. For eating, I would recommend ghee, smaller quantities, and really high quality olive oil. Because if the olive oil is fresh, it's about under a year old, the smoke point is higher than older, kind of lower quality olive oil.
So you're recommending that it's better to have good quality olive oil, which is usually a younger olive oil.
Yes,
is that right?
they're usually
Okay.
cold pressed and extra virgin. It's a health investment. That's what I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Especially canola is very much chemically processed and more harmful than anything else. But I would say even in my parents' household, they use that a lot. And because there's this idea about no olive oil, it's gonna, burn faster or it's gonna go bad faster. And just using the right quality of olive oil is one of the best things that one can cook with. There's an article, there's a video. If I find it, I will share with you, Mary, if anybody's interested.
Okay. All right. And then, icy cold food. So is that part of I'm the person that likes to have iced tea. Like I like my drinks cold. I will rarely do room temperature. Is that upset your digestion?
Well, it does upset the digestion because it affects the productiveness of enzymes. So I cannot remember exactly, but every 10 degrees Fahrenheit drop in temperature, like from room temperature down, it kind of drops the effectiveness of enzymes by the same percentage. So having cold and ice drinks, especially with the meals, hampers the agni, the digestive fire. It's a matter of culture. It's a matter of we live in this warmer climate that we're more inclined to do that. And it sounds counterintuitive that it may lead to weight gain, as I've stated here.
Because I think that is inspiration enough.
Sorry, say that again.
I said, I think that's inspiration enough. If, just saying, wow, if you drink room temperature beverages, it can assist from with not gaining weight or possibly losing weight. Yeah.
And I will share another secret with you. And it doesn't work 100% with everybody because you would laugh at it when I talk about it. So I'll just save it for then. Just quickly, leftovers, they lose their prana, they lose their life force over time, especially if they're reheated and if they're kept overnight. Say like you cook lunch, it's not meat, it's vegetarian, leave it on the stove, you eat it within a few hours, is not as bad as when you have you cook for your entire week ahead of time and reheat it, or freeze it and reheat it. It's already been killed so many times. So what you're having is just calories. You're not getting nutrients, and you're not getting prana, the essence of life, from your meal.
Oh, okay. Good to know.
Yeah, we want to strengthen our immunity here. So the thing is, what you see here on the list is a smaller list compared to all the other guidelines that's out there. But I would say you can start making changes by introducing only one or two of these things to your routine. I do not recommend going cold turkey on anything. And see, like, you douse or you feel inspired to do it, more importantly, do that. Do it for a week or two and just kind of journal or even reflect back and see what has worked or what has changed or not. It will be amazing. You may not at first see the relationship, but it affects your sleep, for instance. And I would say eat when hungry. Although we want to stay regular, if you've stuffed yourself for lunch and you don't feel like eating much for dinner, maybe have something very small so you don't go to bed hungry, or there are remedies for that. But if the food is already still in your stomach or has just barely left it and you just tax your system with more food, what happens is like the ama or the toxins get created. And over time, they get blocked. They block your physiological channels and they block your energy channels.
Okay. We have a question here. Yikes, I eat a lot of raw. Is that bad?
Depends on the season and the time. Different people have just an amazing digestion, but they're so far and few between. I would say in the summertime, it's, you know, some salads here and there when your digestive fire is working strongly, but eating raw, and that's the thing, we want to get the most out of our nutrients and the most prana and nutrients out of our food. So logically, it makes sense to eat raw, but what it is our bodies, even if they were originally designed to eat a lot of raw food, we have morphed and changed. So a lot of fiber works like eating a tree, and we're not designed to eat a tree. So over time, by eating a lot of raw foods, we're taxing our system again.
So it sounds like balance is the key.
Balance is the key, and cooking on low temperatures. People think it takes a lot longer, but it doesn't, and it keeps more of those nutrients in, but makes it more digestible. Hope that helped.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. So I'm going to move on from this. And two really important points. Cook only with love, good oils, 6 tastes, and low heat. By the 6 tastes, I mean sweet, salty, sour, pungent, astringent, and bitter. It sounds too complicated. I would say there are spice mixes. I usually give that to my clients, but keep that in mind. Cooking with a little bit of turmeric, fennel powder, coriander powder, and cumin powder, just a little bit. They're very helpful. And then add salt. Cook with your salt. Don't add it to your food later. Squeeze a little lemon on top of your meal. And you have the 6 tastes. What it does, it stimulates your digestion. So no matter what your food is, you digest that better. And this is the best season to take turmeric. Turmeric root, turmeric powder, cook with it. Don't overdo like anything else and everything else, but really try, if you like, to give it a try. What it does, it binds all the tastes, and it also binds all the qualities to the spices and the nutrients in your food together. It makes it better for your digestion.
Do you think that turmeric like capsules are as effective as cooking?
If they are pure turmeric capsules, they're still not as effective. So what it is when you cook it, you use a little bit of oil. And what the oil does, it carries the qualities of turmeric into your cells. Whereas with taking the pill, it may not get fully or at all properly digested. That's usually the problem, is like a lot of us, especially due to our lifestyle, our digestive systems aren't working the best. So no matter how many multivitamins we take, not everything gets optimally digested or absorbed.
Right.
And just to share with you that digestion is not only about food. It's about our thoughts, it's about our emotions, it's about our experiences, things we read, things we watch. So let's uplift ourselves. And we're empaths here, right? So we get hit with a lot of emotions, other people's emotions and other people's thoughts, and we care too much. So really need to balance it out and journal about those experiences that are not very pleasant. It's important to process them. If they are not processed, just like physical food, they can create ama too. And all of a sudden we have a physical manifestation of a disease. Very quickly on this uncomfortable topic of elimination, and I'm only targeting bowel movements here. It's considered healthy in Ayurveda to have 1 or 2 easy bowel movements per day. So if you skip a day, it's considered constipation. And it does need to be treated. Constipation creates ama, toxins, and more buildup. If straining is done, that is also constipation. So if you have difficulty eliminating, it's not an easy elimination, treat that. Speak to a practitioner, any healthcare practitioner that you trust, an Ayurvedic practitioner, and treat that. Although in allopathy, modern medicine, only lately they've realized that not going to the bathroom every day isn't healthy. They consider it normal if a person went once a week. And wow. They reduced it to 3 times a week. And now it's like, oh yeah, skipping it every other day. That's not healthy. Everybody knows with diarrhea is not loose stool. Diarrhea is watery. Diarrhea needs to be treated, but nobody really looks at constipation, that it needs to be treated. So here we're saying they're both as important to be treated for us to raise our immunity. This is that fun thing I wanted to share with you. Purification. And with simple hot water. So if you get to boil about 1 quart or 1 liter of hot water, I don't know if you can see on my screen, on the shared screen on the video, I am holding this thermos up. Can you see?
Yes.
All right.
We have you pinned up there.
So about this much of hot water, boil it every morning, keep it in here so it stays hot. This thing is called ekis or whatever. It usually keeps the temperature really well for, 12 to 16 hours. What that does by itself, and again, depends on the person, even though it's water, it works like an adaptogen. Whatever your body needs, it will give it to you. So it's one of the best.
Just the hot water?
Just the hot water. Now you can mix it with some simple spices for better taste, or sometimes I would put dried apples in there or something, but just hot water by itself, boiled water, kept in a thermos. When you sip on it every half an hour, it can help with elimination, purification, weight loss, better digestion. So when we're doing that, what it does is also like it's filling up some space in your stomach. So it keeps you away from grazing in a way. Not only that, it kindles your agni as you start doing it in the morning. It gets your digestive system going. So by about 5 or 6 p.m., get rid of it, because then you would get up in the middle of the night to go use the restroom. So from when you wake up till about 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. at the most, every half an hour, I just keep sipping on hot water or spice water, or you can squeeze a little bit of lemon in there or something that makes it more palatable. But it does wonders. So if anybody does that, please, please let me know. Do it for a week or do it for 2 weeks. And let me, or if Mary's interested, let her know that how that affected your just physiology.
Yeah, that's great. I think we're all going to be on a healthy digestion and weight loss with our good sleep and our.
Well, the holiday season's coming. It will be a good time to try it.
It's a great time.
There are all these other ways of purification. If you take classes with me, I normally like do modules like per week, like one on digestion, one on elimination and purification, and one on sleep. I go through the details of all this, but just remembering that only this hot water routine and even oleating your skin with the sesame oil and sunflower oil and then taking a hot shower sometimes, that works. But there's intricacies to it, like, to make sure, you brush it towards your heart, that you don't slip in the tub and all that. But just a few simple things, and most importantly, doing a form of meditation on daily basis, that works wonders for the purification process. The reason is, especially in effortless meditation, I emphasize it helps bring awareness to the issues. It's not just the meditation itself that may relax some people. It's not always relaxing. What it does is it brings the unconscious to consciousness. Oh, and then, okay, last but not least, I'm not going to go through this, but we cannot cheat the amount of sleep we get. And even though not everybody agrees, I did watch a video that the doctor was saying that, say you've had sleep deprivation, you will never be able to catch up with that. I believe him, but I don't tend to think that way. I really think that when we put the conscious effort to catch up with sleep, we will catch up with the restoration that our body needs. And there are two kinds of sleep disorders: difficulty falling asleep when it takes us a long time to fall asleep. That's a vata aggravation. And early morning awakening is vata and pitta. Too much air, too much fire. So we will get into details if anybody's interested later on. Just to know, any of these are a cause of sleep issue, sleep problems, like poor digestion, pain, emotional stress. We all know that, but irregular routine. Again, in the season of change, if you can do one thing, and that's to bring your days into a format that you kind of have an idea and the commitment to, say, have your lunch at a certain time, go to bed at a certain time. Those two by themselves do a lot to increase your immunity. And it's not necessarily unhealthy to sleep during the day, but what it does, it usually shows that there's been some sort of an exhaustion going on somewhere in our system or routine that needs to be addressed. And it's better if you want to take a nap, to do it before 2 p.m. so it doesn't mess with the cycle, with the actual sleep cycle. So again, these are guidelines, no rules and regulations. Try to go to bed by 10 p.m. Even it's an Ayurvedic thing. Scientifically, it's been proven that after 10 p.m., body needs to shut down to regular metabolism, the 10 to 2 p.m. pitta time. When we have too much bright light, too much thinking, we watch a violent movie before bed, we mess up our sleep routine. And unconsciously, we are messing up the other pillars. So just a few things to keep in mind. Don't force yourself. If you're used to going to bed at 2 p.m., you can slowly try to sleep earlier and see the effects. And if you can, if you are on vacation, if you have the luxury, throw that alarm clock off and see what time you wake up. Maybe your body's already used to waking up at a certain time that it needs to wake up, but maybe you're forcing it to wake up at a certain time. So give it a try.
No computers after 8 or 9 o'clock. I think we're all in trouble.
We're all in trouble, yeah. I'm in trouble for drinking after 6 p.m. too. They're ideals. And again, a lot of these are scientifically proven to be affecting our sleep adversely. Just in a nutshell, remembering the nature's pharmacy, whatever we have, if we have a lot of dryness, cold, roughness, lightness, irregularity, remedies for that is to do the opposite. Oil yourself, oleate your skin, warm the foods, have mushier foods. If you feel too light and airy, ground yourself. You can physically do that. You can meditate. You can put a blanket on you. There are just so many ways. We're very creative. We're dowsers here. We can figure out what to do. And this is a good time to eat a lot of root vegetables and nourishing foods and good oils. We're kind of getting ready like to go into the winter time. So this is an agitating season, so we want to ground ourselves. And even root vegetables, they root you down. Think about the energies of such when you eat. Get proper sleep, rest, get grounded. And this is a good time to purify your body. It's a good time to start on that hot water routine if you know you got called to do that. All right. This is the bonus part of the presentation. Hopefully I haven't bored you so far, but I was very, very excited to share this with you, with this wonderful group, because you take advantage of your pendulums and dowsing. But I did want to bring the concept of kinesiology to the table, because some people may not douse, may not use a pendulum, may not be familiar with it, but we have our own body and the wisdom of our body available to us. And I was telling Mary that I learned the arm test from Sandy Mack in one of her classes, and this is the go-to method. Although I cheat and I use my pendulum when I work with clients, but I have also learned to use my fingers to get.
They call that deviceless dowsing.
Deviceless dowsing.
Deviceless dowsing. So if you don't always have access to your pendulum, you can use some of these different methods.
Yes. And I've also noticed, as I told you earlier, that there was a time that I felt very misaligned. So my right and my left were not telling me the same thing. So I decided to go to the good old O-ring test. And mostly all are familiar with this, but I'm going to go over it for the ones who aren't. And we can test it quickly together. So we say a statement that is true, similar to, I would say, my name is Asal, and I link my fingers together like this. So the index and the thumb go in, linking into the other O from the other hand. And I say, my name is Asal. And I keep pulling really hard, and this doesn't separate. But when I say, my name is Sandy, I don't even need that much force. And my fingers cannot hold the strength because I am repeating a statement that is not true. So by this very simple test that most of you are familiar with, you know, for me, it's a bulletproof test that I know the left and the right are working in alignment with each other. So having that in our toolbox, in our pocket, or on our hands, it's good to know that according to Ayurveda, there are 3 kinds of colds and flus, and the energies of these different illnesses are very different. You have access to this information when we share the PowerPoint with you. Vata, irregular, cold, rough, dry, airy. Pitta is very hot. More than likely there's fever accompanying it. And Kapha is very congested, it's very heavy, it's very lethargic, full of phlegm. So it's good for us to know which one it is, because the symptoms are not always too clear and obvious. So it's good to know which one each is, and pick a home remedy that I have over the next 3 slides with your dowsing or with your kinesiology, with your body's mechanism telling you what it is, and do that so you have access to nipping it in the bud if it manifests. So just an example, Vata is very cold. Giving it a ginger licorice, and licorice is very grounding, tea, that kind of gives it a really good remedy. So there are 2 ways to do that. Or keep that in mind that the turmeric in milk is not always good for colds and flus, but in this particular case, it is when you have a long-lasting cough that this can take care of it. There are people who burn turmeric and ingest the fumes. I don't highly recommend it for most people, but having it with milk, it's more soothing. It goes down and it has the same effect. For pitta that is very hot and moist, turmeric and honey. Honey is actually very cooling. It cools the blood, contrary to our beliefs. So it's a great remedy. Or you can do the echinacea, golden seal, and cinnamon. Give this a try.
So how would someone know they had a cold or something that was pitta oriented?
I would say douse it, yes or no. Or douse the percentage. See if there is any kind of a mixture going on. More than likely, it's either Vata or Pitta or a Kapha, kind of a cold or flu that we're dealing with. And thanks for asking that, because I wasn't very clear. And lastly, these are remedies for Kapha. Kapha is very cold and it's very heavy and very unctuous and earthy. So cloves and honey. Cloves is very warming. And honey is great for the congestion part of this. And then the middle remedy that some of you, I'm sure, have used, the steam. Just make sure you don't burn yourself. I needed to say it.
Because kapha typically tends to things develop in the chest, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, possibly, yes. It's just, as I said, it's just like the congestion. wherever it sits, more than likely it is the kapha type. But you want to douse and make sure it is kapha and not pitta masquerading in kapha, because there's a little bit of moisture involved in pitta as well.
Well, I was just thinking about my daughter when she was young. Whenever she would get sick, it would progress very quickly to her chest, you know. So I always think she had a tendency towards kapha, you know.
Yes, and at a younger age, we do have tendencies to get kapha types of diseases. And makes sense. And this is something I've done time and time and again, and it's helped me quite a lot, is on the onset of anything you're picking up, you kind of even intuitively had a feeling, oh, I saw this person and I feel like I just picked a little bug from them. Come home, get a third of a teaspoon ginger powder, because ginger powder is very hot, and mix it with a tablespoon of honey. Take it and just go to bed. Go to bed. Don't think too much. Just rest.
So now you're not mixing it in the warm water or anything else. It's just directly with the honey?
No, just take it in, and if you like to have some water afterwards, have it.
Is there a particular type of ginger powder you recommend?
Not necessarily. I mean, the only thing is, like, if you have access to anything organic, please do that. But other than that, no. Just make sure it's the powder, because the powder has hotter qualities than fresh ginger.
Oh, okay.
And
so you just go down your baking aisle, your spice aisle of the store, and get organic ginger powder, and then you can mix it into honey and you're good to go.
Have it handy. The cabinet medicine of an Ayurvedic practitioner is their kitchen pantry.
Mm-hmm.
And these are things that do make sense. Rest, 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 lots of hydration, the hot water routine, again, to get rid of the ama and the blockages, and avoiding sugar, because sugar creates that phlegm, that congestion. Even if it's not the kapha type of a cold or flu, it could become that. So we want to, again, nip it in the bud and avoid sugar. Feed a cold, starve a fever. The bone broth chicken soup is really healing. I don't eat beef, but I eat chicken, and I usually have good quality chicken broth available. As soon as I feel a little achy or funny, that's the first thing I do. Even sometimes by itself or with a little bit of turmeric and spices, that's what I have. It goes straight into my bones. That's where it comes from. It comes from the bones, goes into the bones. That's how beautiful Ayurveda and those traditions are. It's just very simplistic and very natural. Oh, I guess I jumped too fast. So with this, tonight's presentation is done, and I don't know how I did with time, but hopefully
we're good. We have a little bit of time for questions. I'm sure people have questions. I mean, this has been such good information and gets people thinking about, their health. Yeah. So I guess if I could recap, if you're feeling a little run down, do you recommend that we douse? Is this a kapha issue, a vata issue, or a pitta issue?
Mm-hmm. Yes, okay. I do.
And then depending on which one we get, then we treat it with those simple kitchen remedies, and we can increase our strength of our immune system. And I call it terrain. You called it something else.
Think
like the host of your body, the
there's the system. It'll come to me.
Yeah, well, it balances your, is it the asa?
Okay, so Ojas and Ama.
Okay, Ojas and Ama. Yes.
The Agni, the fire.
The Agni. Oh, perfect. It must be very tired. Yes. Thank you, Mary.
Somebody jumped in there.
Yeah, the Agni, the fire of digestion.
Yeah. Okay. Does anybody have questions? Other questions for Asal? Let's see. Why does excessive talking or singing impact sleep?
Again, it's very old school. It's from a book that is about 2,500 years old, but a lot of movement of air, and that's how it's understood in Ayurveda, is very vata provoking through talking and singing. So it can be very exhausting. Too much vata, too much movement and commotion. That's why it can be leading to issues needing to sleep and rest. And
so you would not want to have a late night choir practice if you want to have your optimal sleep.
There are always exceptions, but overall, and it's a matter of mentality of what's important and what's priority in our lives.
But it also what stimulates the mental, which is not necessarily beneficial for good sleep as well.
Exactly. Yeah. Again, too much vata. Anything with the nervous system, anything with movement, any transportation, it's all vata related. And coming to the bottom of it, a lot of diseases are provoked by too much vata, or vata vitiating and going into different parts of the body. For instance, you mentioned the chest, that's the seat of kapha, one of the seats of kapha. And too much vata accumulates, it can travel and go and aggravate all these other different body parts or areas of the body that have been weakened. For instance, I had a knee injury, took care of it, something else happened. Next thing you know, pain comes through my knee. Pain is also an indication of vata, energy trying to move, and it's blocked. So you feel the pain. The body communicates its wisdom to you through that pain. Again, how? Through the energy of air and space. Because once we get the hang of it, it's like everything makes sense. Everything. I was at a talk, and that's for some old job project that I had. We listened to a scientist from NASA, and he was telling us how scientists are so puzzled that when astronauts come back from space, they have massive bone density loss. I was thinking, according to Ayurveda, too much in space, that kind of like does this, it's rough and dry and it's silly, but it does make sense.
It's literal, yeah. Well, now you offer multiple things in your practice. I know that you have introductory consultations with people. You have classes that you offer. You do private sessions. I guess you're meeting distance and in person these days.
Yes. I've always been open to in person when the clients are ready to meet.
Excellent. Well, I think you have a special offer for our Lone Star Dowsers, right?
I do. And it's something that I was telling you I haven't done. Not that I've never actually done it, but this offer I've never done. And it's very exciting because I would like to whomever would like to give this a try. The bulk of what I figure out about a person's physiology or different layers of balance and imbalance is through their pulse. Pulse says a lot to a practitioner. Pulse and then the tongue and more other visual assessments. So I would like to offer like a 30 to 35 minute session for me to not only just get to know them and what concerns them or what questions they have, but to read their pulses in distance or in person and have them leave with one or two points that are beneficial to them to work on according to the findings of the pulse, because it goes beyond the story and the narrative, and it tells exactly what's going on underneath as the root cause to an extent. We explore with this.
So this is not a really deep dive consultation, but it's kind of a general overview of maybe a specific issue or a general look at someone's health.
Yeah, as far as an actual first consultation, I do it over the course of 75 minutes. But what it does, the pulse reading in person should take about a minute. In distance, it takes a little bit longer because we want to make sure that there's clarity on both ends, that I get to connect to their pulse. So it takes a little bit longer, but it's deep. So my understanding of what's going on would become deep. So I would maybe not get into the nitty gritty of too much, but I will pinpoint to them what I understand as the root cause of their symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like a quick, but it's still of quality.
Yeah, excellent. And so there was a special price for that, right?
Okay, there we go. Yeah, so 30 minutes for $30. If they book until December 1st, so by booking until December 1st, what I mean is I have my schedule open till December 1st. So they can
book today up until December 1st.
Yes.
For this special price. Excellent. Well, that's a wonderful opportunity for everybody. I appreciate that.
My pleasure. I really think just understanding the pulse findings would go a long way, and reading the pulse by itself is a very, very healing practice for the practitioner if done right, and definitely for the client.
Well, I love it. Yeah, and everyone, our members can dowse and see, if that would be a beneficial thing for them to experience. Does anyone else have any questions for Asal? Oh, great.
That's the last bonus that I was hiding. Because that's very Ayurvedic, the incompatible foods. This is the simplest list that I found because some lists are very extensive. And
okay, wow. Eggs and milk and eggs and cheese are incompatible. That's like every omelet.
Oh yeah, in Texas especially.
Yeah.
So again, these are guidelines. Some people have very strong digestion. Things like that don't affect them over time. However, overdoing things can go wrong, the wrong way. But just some ideas like milkshakes. Banana shakes. Bananas and milks, they don't go that well together. Here it says soy milk, but yeah, also milk too, right? I see.
Wow. And so on the nightshades, the potato and the milk, we're, uh-oh, then we've got the, okay, here's somebody, mute yourself, please, if you're, let's see, we're just hearing the background noise. So it sounds like mashed potatoes normally made with potatoes and milk. Oh.
Well, I have a vegan recipe on my website. I have posted several recipes on how to cook with oils and different videos also, if anybody has the time or the interest to watch. But yeah, I mean, easy replacement, nut milk.
Okay.
Nut milks have different qualities. They're lighter. They don't create as much ama when combined with other stuff.
Yeah. Works.
Excellent. Okay, I'm hearing somebody. Do we have any questions? Any other questions for Asal? Let's see. I think I'm going to stop the screen share so we can, there we go. Perfect. That way we can, we can see who's here. We've had a great group. Well, if no one else has any questions, I will just say thank you so much, Asal, and it was our pleasure. So we'll send out the recording. We're going to send out your PowerPoint presentation, and oh, it looks like Sandy's got her hand up. Hang on. Hi, Sandy. If you got your
let me see. I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Well, we want to see your face.
Okay. Oh,
we're
no.
Seeing your room. There you
see
are.
My gray,
okay.
My gray hairs of wisdom. My wisdom has all come out here. See?
Well, we know you are quite wise.
I just want to thank you, Asal, and thank you, Mary. This was a very good presentation. I'm so proud of Asal doing this. It's just great. You know, I just feel like she's just one of the little bright lights of the planet. And so grateful for what she's sharing, and appreciate you making this financially available for a lot of people. Certainly encourage people to take advantage of her offer, which is great. So I'm just grateful. I enjoyed it. It's reminding me of a lot of stuff I know and I've, you know, put aside or overridden or something like that, but just grateful for you doing that.
Thank you, Sandy, so very much. Such an inspiration and wonderful teacher to have. I'm very honored. Thank you.
And thanks, Mary, doing a great job as well. And thanks to Emily. I know she's hiding behind the curtain there somewhere.
She is. That's right. Emily is our wonderful tech person.
She's the tech goddess.
She is, and she sends out our wonderful emails and does our website. Yeah, so grateful for Emily.
Yeah.
So, well, all our members.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
Any other questions from anybody? I'm not seeing anything. Okay. Sandy keeps popping up here. Okay. All right. Well, I will just say thank you on behalf of the Dowsers, the Lone Star Dowsers, Asal, and I think everyone saw your website. It's jewelbox77.com. And it's also on the email, and obviously it'll be in part of the presentation when people see it. So we thank you, and I hope everyone takes advantage of your amazing offer.
Thank you very, very, very much. You're a wonderful host, and I really appreciate the questions and just the emceeing of this event. It was wonderful. I really took a lot of joy, and If anybody has any questions, please go ahead and email me, contact me, and this will be shared with you. And it's been quite a pleasure to have this honor to present to this wonderful group. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, thank you all. And I'm going to end our meeting. So until next time.
Nice meeting you all.